Okay, guys, we're going to talk about some other types of figurative language that are often used in poems. And you've heard of alliteration before, but this is a review. So alliteration is beginning consonant sounds being repeated in words. So here's some examples. Where the wild men watched and waited. So you hear the W sound constantly. Wolves in the forest and bears in the bush. So there is the B sound being repeated and the W sound being repeated. Another thing is something called, let's see if I can click on it. Assonance, something called assonance. Now, assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds within a series of words. It can be found at the beginning, the middle, or an end of words. So, the thing that you need to know about assonance is the other type is called consonants, and these are repetition of sound. So, if you remember back to elementary school, vowels are A, E, I, O, U sounds, and consonants is everything else. So here's an example of assonance. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plains. Okay, you have that A sound. Rain, Spain, mainly, plains. So those are vowel sounds. So if it sounds like an A, E, I, O, U sound, then it's called assonance. Here's another one. There was a fleet of sleeping geese. There you hear the E sound. Fleet, sleep, geese. Okay. That's just another strategy that poets use when writing poetry to make it flow. Okay, so assonance, the other part of that is consonants. And consonants are repetitive sounds produced by consonants within a sentence or phrase. So it's exactly like assonance, but it uses the consonants. So here are some examples. Whose woods these are, I think I know. Okay, you got whose woods these are, I think I know. Mike likes his new bike. I will crawl away with the ball. Ball, crawl. He stood on the road and cried. Okay, toss the glass, boss. It will creep and beep while you sleep. He struck a streak of bad luck. When Billy looked at the trailer, she smiled and laughed. Okay, so let's quickly watch a vocabulary on consonants and assonants. And then we're going to answer some questions about that.
Alliteration and assonance are two beautiful things, and we get our vocabulary, you know. We're here to teach you about it, alright? So here we go. When beginning sounds of words are repeated, that's alliteration. You better believe it. Usually it's with consonant sounds. Larry's lawnmowers were meant to be loud. See, the letters don't have to be the same. Generous jackrabbit, that's a G and a J. Alliteration makes words stand out. You remember them because of the similar sound. You see it in store names like Tim Tools and in news headlines like LeBron can't lose. Assonance is when vowel sounds repeat inside of words, and it's a sweet treat. Like, would you believe that my CP gave a keynote speech in a fleece last week? But why would writers even use these techniques? To add rhythms to what they write or they speak, to make it catchier and more musical. They made lyrics and poetry sound beautiful. My dog devoured all the daffodils. Now the garden's gone, but you know she had her fill of alliteration is repeating the sounds at the beginning of words like two tall towns. Assonance is repeating vowel sounds inside of words like loud brown cow. Alliteration is repeating the sounds at the beginning of words like two tall towns. Assonance is repeating vowel sounds inside of words like loud brown cow. Alliteration and assonance add to your writing. Check out these lines that could be more exciting. The hungry crocodile is looking to eat. Stay out of the water or you'll become his meat. That's okay, but not fabulous. Let's add alliteration and a little assonance. The crocodile is craving a crunchy critter. If you swim with him, your lips will be his dinner. The alliteration of the CR sound is used to help you imagine just how that croc chews. Assonance is is when the I sound repeated. It gave the sentence all the rhythm that it needed. Alliteration and assonance, they create a mood and cause feelings like happy, scared, or blue. So crumble up your first draft, it was Latin style, and throw it in the palm for that old crocodile. Alliteration is repeating the sounds at the beginning of words like two tall sounds. Assonance is repeating vowel sounds inside words like loud brown cow. Alliteration is repeating the sounds at the beginning of words like two tall sounds. Assonance is repeating vowel sounds inside words like loud brown cow. Now that we've learned about alliteration and assonance, thank you. There's like two ways that you can do things. I'll give you an example of the first one. Alright. We celebrate in the farm area. Come along, it's where the sheep probably hang. Lots of hay to consume as well as dancing. Till the farmer comes then. I mean, and that's cool, but like, let's try it like this, check it out. Yeah, we party hard in the barnyard, see, follow me, it's where all the sheep probably wanna be, all the hay that you can eat, move your body to the beat, till the farmer finds out, then everybody freeze.
Okay, vocabulary. So just to review, let's review the vocabulary there. You've got alliteration, assonance, consonants, and rhythm and repeat and vowels. Okay, so let's do a few questions. Here's question number 3 here. This is just for practice. You don't have to write anything down, but which detail from the following part of Casey at the back contains alliteration? Okay, remember alliteration is the repetition of beginning consonant sounds of words. So you got then from 5,000 throats and more there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled through the dale, it pounded on the mountain and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. So your choices are then from 5,000 throats, it rattled in the dale, it pounded on the mountain, or was advancing to the bat. So you're looking for the same consonant sound. So if you see then from 5,000 throats, you've got then from 5,000 throats. And from 5,000 throats, and more like there rose a lusty yell. So this, it rattled in the dale, you don't have the same consonant sounds. It pounded on the mountain, you don't. Was advancing to the bat? No, but then from 5,000 throats. This would be your answer, okay? Look at this next one. Which detail from the poem contains assonance? Okay, remember assonance is when words use the same vowel sounds in the middle of the words. They sound the same. So the stanza says, then from 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dale, it pounded on the mountain and recoiled upon the flat, for Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. So what has the same vowel sounds? 5,000 throats, it rumbled through the valley, it pounded on the mountain, there rose a lusty yell. So you see how you've got owl and owl pounded on the mountain. Okay, and the rest of them don't have that, so the answer is C there. Okay, so let's go back, and now that you've got these written, we've gone over those. The last thing is automatopoeia, and you've heard of that before. It's a very big word, but it just means sound words, okay? And you've used it in your own writings, like crack, bang, honk. You also have other examples like squishy, thump, whack, clunk, thud, plop, crash, bang, whoosh. So those are words that sound like they're spelled like they sound, okay? So when you say them, it sounds like the actual sound. So that's called automatopoeia, and that's another thing that authors like to do, poets like to do in their writing, okay? So now I want, in your IMB, I want you to label this in the table of contents as your next thing. I'm not going to tell you what number to put because each of my classes is on a different number, but it will be the next new thing, and I want you to put it in your writing IMB. Writing IMB. You can rewind the video and write the definitions on this iPad picture. Now you have one that looks like this, and I shrunk it so it should just tape in perfectly, okay? And you don't have to write anything on these little cards, just write right here all the definitions, okay? So you're going to write the definition for alliteration, automatopoeia, and assonance and consonants. And you can find those definitions right back here if you go back and see where they are, okay? So add those definitions here. That'll go in your IMB, and that will be another thing that you can study for your test on Friday.